And we are joined now by Brewers owner Mark Attanasio. Great to have you with us, Mark. And
it's good to be here.
You go from owner to journalist now because you said you have just come from the clubhouse. Do you have an update on Ricky Weeks?
Well, actually, I got a text from Doug Melvin that said that I guess the good news is it's not a break. The X-ray was negative, but they don't know anything beyond that yet.
Right. So now on Twitter and everywhere you go, it says, as reported by Mark Attanasio, Ricky Weeks not a break. Well, nice going. Well, we appreciate you coming up and got a lot of ground to cover here. First of all, it's always great to come to Miller Park, especially on a rainy night, because you get to appreciate the roof. But it's a closed roof, it's a rainy night, and it is a big crowd to see your Milwaukee Brewers once again.
Oh, it's great. I was before I came over today, I stopped in on the commissioner, and he and I were talking about how great they've got 2 sellouts here. And at least for me, looking outside, I'm not sure I'd come to the game if the roof wasn't closed.
And we got the big trading deadline coming up. A few days left, and the Brewers already made a big splash with K-Rod. Anything brewing? Anything that the fans can look ahead to?
Well, Doug Melvin and his group always work right up to the end, looking at ways they can improve the team. And we've got we call it a war room upstairs. She spent about $1 million reformatting. It's really very high technology for, so you can, if you want to name a player, boom, you can be on video. You can. They actually can send me things off a smartboard in my office in Los Angeles, but I can't figure out how to turn the computer on. So it doesn't work for me. But yeah, so they'd be working on any number of ideas to improve the team.
Now, how active are you in this? As you know, I can understand at the end when it comes to writing the check, but how involved are you? How active are you in the process when it's going on?
I try to talk to Doug where I can, so that if we, so that I'm up to date or up to the moment on what they're thinking. So if we have to make a fast decision, I'm not hearing about it for the first time. And when we did the Frankie Rodriguez trade, that happened very fast on the All-Star game day. And in fact, I was driving to the airport to go to the All-Star game, and Doug called me and said, Sandy Alderson called, and there might be something to do. Now, we had talked about, Frankie for a while.
A line drive will be run down by Corey Hart. Barney is retired. Continue.
So we had talked about, we're ready to react, and actually Doug and I felt that speed was of the essence in that trade, and I think it proved to be. And so, they deliberate every day for some, number of hours. And I'm not, they don't call in at the end of the day and say, hey, we thought that. They really go through every iteration possible. It's really when they have something that they are going to make a proposal on. I know that they're active on the player, but even then, I know there's a couple of things they made proposals on now. And I don't even know what they've proposed. I just know they've inquired on players and given some specifics, and we'll see.
Is there some point where, I know you're getting used to this bit since '05, but at some point do you step back and say, wow, that's pretty cool that I'm involved in this kind of high-level discussion about players?
Well, it's fun. I mean, I realized I was really, and nothing I like better than coming to Miller Park and seeing the team.
There's a base hit by Zambrano, a 2-out single for the Cubs pitcher.
But I realized one of the reasons I'm so excited about coming on this trip is tomorrow I am going to spend about an hour with Doug and his baseball staff to hear what ideas are percolating and talk about the ultimate in fantasy baseball.
That's right.
Tomorrow morning in the war room.
You have lived out the ultimate fantasy owner, the real owner, no longer a fantasy.
Yeah, but as you watch this team, we're getting into August. You got to be just pleased as can be with the starting rotation. I mean, every one of those guys up and down have been doing a good job for you. The
starting rotation has been great, especially after the All-Star break. The bullpen bringing Frankie in seems to have firmed everything up. I mean, what a great job Cam Lowe did last night. It's interesting. Everybody focused on 9th inning, 8th inning. We didn't get through the bases loaded in the 6th inning last night. We don't have an 8th and 9th inning. So, and I think if you look at our lineup up and down, it looks pretty good. Now, I have to say I'm a little concerned. We will miss Ricky if he's out for any period of time. You can't really, you can't replace that production, much less at second base.
Right.
You just can't.
We're visiting with Mark Attanasio. 2 men are out. Greinke has a runner at first, and he is dealing with Fukudome. And we've got a lot to talk about. I know outside the game, there's been a lot going on in baseball. Obviously, the trade deadline is coming up. There's been questions about umpiring, about replay, rules moving forward. Probably something we should save for next inning. But there has been a lot going on in the game of baseball that certainly has ownership, I'm sure, across the major leagues. Perked up and interested to know the next step for Major League Baseball. And where is your stance on adding replay into the game of baseball at this point?
Well, I'm probably a little more high tech than some of the other owners, so I'd probably like to see a little more of it rather than less of it. But I guess well, first of all, baseball, they've got the right guys looking at it. So you've got guys like Joe Torre and Mike Scioscia and Tony La Russa, who are on the commissioner's committee, make the decision. And honestly, whatever I think, those guys have a lot better idea as to what's good for the game and what's not than I do.
And the nice thing about Joe Torre, I mean, he's not that far removed from being on the field, so that's good perspective for everybody.
Because you really want that on the field perspective.
Counsell lays out and gets the out. Craig Counsell doing it with his glove.